श्रीनगर में आज कड़ी सुरक्षा के बीच G20 शिखर सम्मेलन की शुरुआत हुई, जिसकी अध्यक्षता भारत कर रहा है। G20 की स्थापना 1999 में एशियाई वित्तीय संकट के बाद वित्त मंत्रियों और केंद्रीय बैंक के गवर्नरों के लिए वैश्विक आर्थिक और वित्तीय मुद्दों पर चर्चा करने के लिए एक मंच के रूप में की गई थी। इसकी पहली बैठक दिसंबर 1999 में बर्लिन में की गई थी। G20 को आर्थिक मंच के रूप में पहचान दी गई। आज जम्मू कश्मीर के डल झील के किनारे G20 की बैठक का थीम है वसुधैव कुटुंबकम, या एक पृथ्वी एक कुटुंब एक भविष्य है। भारत 1 दिसंबर 2022 को इंडोनेशिया से G20 की अध्यक्षता ग्रहण की। G20 की भारत में पहली बार बैठक हो रही है, जिसको लेकर धरती का जन्नत बन चुका है जम्मू कश्मीर, जहां हवाई निगरानी ड्रोन से त्रिस्तरीय सुरक्षा ग्रिड के अधीन है। आगे विस्तृत जानकारी वीडियो के माध्यम से दे रहा हूं, अंत तक बने रहें। थैंक यू वेरी मच। भारत महान है।
Every meeting should have outcomes, and I said that there is no better outcome in terms of any sector, any industry than tourism in terms of percolation of wealth, distribution of wealth. The very idea that we should use this meeting to draw attention to Jammu and Kashmir, be introduce qualitative and specific in new areas of tourism? How can this help revive the local economy in terms of handicrafts, textiles, in many of the other very, very critical areas in Jammu and Kashmir, which has a very rich culture and handicraft tradition. I think is very, very important. And we ourselves have seen there's a lot of effort and excitement in the city and in the state, in the union territory, on the potentials that can come forward. We've seen women's self-help groups, we've seen many groups mobilize, and I want to mention this as not a person who lives in Jammu and Kashmir, someone who has come and seen it from outside, but we are proud of the fact that we have such traditions in our country, and those traditions are today being revived, popularized, and promoted in a manner that has never been done before.
Making sure this part of Indian-administered Kashmir is ready to receive diplomats from the G20 nations. But it's also facing allegations that it's whitewashing human rights abuses and the suppression of freedom in the disputed Himalayan territory.
Holding the G20 conference here has a political context to it. The meaning of this event is to prove to the people of Kashmir that internationally Kashmir issue has been buried forever. This is one of the achievements of the G20 conference.
The region is known for its natural beauty, and India wants to boost tourism and investment here. Some in the area hope the summit will help do that.
G20 से तो हम expected है कि इससे हमें फायदा होना चाहिए.
We expect it will boost tourism and livelihood for all those who are associated with the tourism sector. But it all depends on the Kashmir situation. That should remain good. On the situation on Kashmir, what can we say? You know what the situation in Kashmir is like.
India holds a chair of the G20, and in the run-up to the main summit in New Delhi in September, is holding a series of meetings across its territory.
Jammu and Kashmir was, is, will always be a part of India. And the G20 meetings are held in all the Indian states and union territories, so it is completely natural that it is held there.
But it's also been the scene of protests, attacks against Indian soldiers, and a recent internet blackout. India wants to show normalcy, but for those who live here, it's anything but business as usual.
For people of Kashmir, it would have meant something had there been normal situation over here. Now, normalcy does not mean normalcy of a graveyard, where you have restrictions on media, restrictions on people languishing in jails, and all this. And at the same time, you want to project to the world that it is normal.
Security is tight after 5 Indian soldiers were killed by suspected separatists last month. Indian-administered Kashmir remains one of the most militarized zones in the world, and human rights organizations have described New Delhi's policies as repressive and criticized its detention of human rights activists and journalists.
What is being highlighted in this tourism working group meeting?
Opposing the G20 meeting venue, which was decided by India, China says it will boycott the event, claiming it is being organized in a disputed region. This drew a sharp response from India, claiming it is free to hold the G20 meet on its own turf. According to reports, Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Egypt are yet to register for the meeting. According to reports, India has called out Pakistan's attempt to stop OIC leaders from attending the G20 in Jammu and Kashmir. With Jammu and Kashmir undergoing a makeover and a 3-tier security in place, all eyes will be on J&K tomorrow as it hosts G20 Tourism Summit.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Papua New Guinea, where he addressed the Forum of Indo-Pacific Islands Cooperation Summit. He also held bilateral talks with the Prime Minister James Marape today. The Indian Prime Minister arrived in the country on Sunday after attending the G7 summit in Hiroshima, Japan. This is the first time an Indian Prime Minister is visiting Papua New Guinea. Modi is now scheduled to interact with scholars from the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Program. He will then depart for Sydney, Australia, where he is scheduled to spend the next 2 days. May 22nd to the 24th. This meeting is set to focus on 5 key aspects related to tourism, green tourism, digitalization, skills, MSMEs, and destination management. Film tourism for economic growth and cultural preservation is also on the agenda for the first time or for the first half of the US President Joe Biden and House Republican Speaker Kevin McCarthy will soon meet to discuss the debt ceiling crisis. The president is now back in Washington after attending the G7 summit in Hiroshima, Japan. Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy reportedly held telephonic conversation regarding the debt crisis before Biden left Hiroshima. Biden needs Republican support to raise the debt ceiling of $31.4 trillion. Speaking to reporters at the U.S. Capitol following Biden's call, McCarthy said there were positive discussions on solving the crisis and that staff-level talks are set to resume. A reporter's question on Bakhmut during the G7 summit in Hiroshima and said that there is nothing left in the city. He also said that Hiroshima's nuclear destruction reminded him of Bakhmut, another destroyed. Meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Japan did not happen because Zelensky was late. The president called for both Ukraine and Russia to stop the war. He also said that G7 or G20 is not a space to discuss the war, but it is only the United Nations. French President Emmanuel Macron visited Mongolia, where he headed to after attending the G7 summit in Japan. Macron said that he aimed to strengthen energy sovereignty with Mongolia and that he had spoken with the country's president on the war in Ukraine. The visit is the first of a sitting French president to the country and is aimed at discussing trade and investment as Mongolia seeks to reduce its dependency on Chinese and Russian neighbors. South Korea and Germany will soon sign an agreement aimed at protecting military secrets to boost defense cooperation. This was announced by South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol on Sunday as he met with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Seoul. Yoon said that the military information agreement will help the smooth operation of the defense industry supply chain amid global economic and political instability.
And industry giants such as Netflix, Dharma Productions and FICCI will be participating in a panel discussion, and a draft national strategy on movie tourism will also be chalked out. Now, the movie tourism for economic growth and cultural preservation is also on the agenda for the first half of the meet. The forum is a part of India's efforts to focus on destination management. A panel discussion featuring speakers from 17 registered G20 member countries and invited countries will take place. The participants will brainstorm and shed light on the country's specific challenges and their learnings on promoting places and destinations with the help of these kind of movies. Now, these priorities are being seen as a key building block for accelerating the tourism sector and achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. However, this is the first time that an international event in Jammu and Kashmir is taking place after the Indian government scrapped its special status in 2019. The officials say that hosting the event in Srinagar will send an important message to the world that J&K is an integral part of India. Meanwhile, China declined to attend the meeting, calling Kashmir a disputed area. China did not attend the meetings in Arunachal Pradesh or Ladakh either. These comments drew a sharp response from India, claiming it is free to hold the G20 meetings anywhere in its territory. Meanwhile, Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Egypt are also refraining from attending the meeting.
Kashmir. If we talk about Srinagar city, the huge number of police and paramilitary forces all across the city. Barricading has been done at every nook and corner. The venue where the G20 meeting is to be held has been completely sealed, and the first line of security has been given to the Indian Army's NSG. For the first time ever, the Indian Navy's Marine Commandos are also being used to secure the parameters of Dal Lake, on the backs of which the venue is. We're also seeing huge number of police and paramilitary forces on the ground to make sure that the event goes through peacefully. On the other side, the government of India has said that maximum number of registrations of attendees from various countries have been placed for this event. So we're expecting around 150 people to attend the meetings over the next 3 days. The main topics on which the discussions would be held would be eco-tourism as well as film tourism. Jammu and Kashmir government has already a film policy in place and one window approval for the filmmakers who want to shoot in Kashmir Valley, and they have also added 300 new destinations wherein film crews from across the world can come and shoot across the valley.